Hello and welcome to this edition of InFocus. I am Rahul Srivastav. The Dreamliner nightmare continues to reside in global headlines. In the tragic Air India crash on 12th June, the death toll has risen to 279. 241 of them were on board and rest 38 were those who came in the aircraft's ill-fated crash path. Families have lost their dear ones. Nothing may console them. Healing will take years. Scars will remain forever. The probe in the reasons for the crash will continue. It may provide answers to these families why they lost someone they loved. The other element of the tragedy is that the law provides for compensation for the losses that they have suffered. The 241 killed and one survivor were flying Air India. Air India is liable to pay them. Air India lost a $200 million worth aircraft. The total payout will depend on a slew of factors, including nationality, laws of different countries, courts, age, and net worth of individual. While there are many reports in newspapers and magazines and websites, the liability can be different and can be so huge that an aircraft of this Dreamliner sign operates with an insurance cover of $1.5 billion. It is unclear what Air India finally or eventually may pay out, as the process is tedious and very lengthy. But there is one benchmark which is helping experts to do a back-of-the-envelope baseline calculation, and that involves the Montreal Convention, which has set up a minimum bar. Insurance experts are of the opinion that the total insurance payout could be at least, and I repeat, at least $120 million. In Indian rupees, it could be a mammoth 1,035 crore, an 11-digit payout. Again, I repeat, it is the benchmark minimum. It can be much more depending on many factors. It was the first crash of a Dreamliner in 14 years of service. The AI-171's $120 million plus insurance claim places it among the top 10 global claims, and by far the payout largest in Indian aviation history. But let me bring in the X factor here. The insurance bill is 1,035 crore, but it wouldn't cost the aircraft operator or the airline, Air India, much. Why? That's the power of insurance. Now let's first take a look at what's the insurance costs we are really looking at. Baseline. Airline insurance primarily comprises of physical damage to the aircraft, in air, on ground, passenger legal liability, and third-party liability. Then there is cargo liability and crew's personal accident cover. Hull insurance reimburses the airlines. Liability insurance benefits the victims, families, and third-party covers others. The Boeing 787 aircraft hull blown to smithereens could well be in the proximity, insurance cover could well be in proximity of payout, could be $80 million or close to 650 odd crore rupees. The insurance payout to passengers can range minimum, as per the Montreal Convention, $30 to $40 million or 340 crore rupees. Now, insurance, especially aviation insurance, is a complex business. It involves a maze of organized sharing of the insurance load. For example, Air India's fleet insurance is syndicated and reinsured across international markets such as London and New York. In this business, no single insurer bears the entire risk of the fleet of the aircraft or the passengers. Coverage is distributed across global reinsurers, with one often holding 1.5% to 2%. A lead insurer retains just 10 to 15%. Means even the lead insurer is not taking the whole responsibility. Now first, let's talk about what the liability towards those who perish in the crash is concerned. The award for flyers is given on the basis of global norms set by, as I said, the Montreal Convention. India became a signatory to Montreal Convention in 2009. Compensation is calculated using what is called the special drawing rights, or the SDRs. As of October 2024, the cap is 128,821. That is 1,28,000 odd SDRs. Each SDR is worth $1.3 approximately. Each decease, as per this calculation of SDR and the worth of SDR, gets something close to 1.71 lakh dollars, or in rupee terms, 1.5 crore per person. Now, each passenger, the others will also get individual travel insurance. Beyond this, several layers of insurance are there, like aviation, life and personal accident cover. They are expected to provide further compensation and support to the victims' families or the victims. But there is a catch. The final payout will depend not just what Montreal Convention says. It will depend on the insurance coverage purchased by the airline and may vary depending on the nationality and liability claims. Also, there may be issues when it comes to high net worth individuals who died in the crash. The Montreal Convention, or the MC99, protects millions of air passengers who fly internationally every year. It covers damages to travelers' health or luggage, including when flights have been delayed or cancelled. However, unlike regulations such as EU's EC 261, which provides clear guidelines about compensation amounts, the Montreal Convention operates on a case-by-case basis and is much more difficult to navigate. However, it is currently honored by over 135 countries. That means it creates a good basic standard of protection which applies to almost all international flights. Next is the third-party liability. Air India's aircraft crashed into a residential area or a civilian area, causing civilian casualties and property damage. Air India is liable under third-party damage provisions for providing them compensation. Air India's legal liability towards the 38 who died on the ground includes loss of civilian life injuries, damage to apartments, medical expenses and others. This liability section could run into several $1 million. But wait, while we have talked about what individuals are getting, there is a very interesting element which has not been covered by most of the news reports on this issue. The compensation, the final compensation dole out or payout by Air India, whether this compensation will depend on what the Montreal Convention just says, or nationality of the airline, or crash location, or passengers individually, in terms of whether they approach the courts or not. They take legal resource saying that what we are not satisfied with Montreal Convention, let's go to the courts. So it's a long process, but it is a tedious, problematic process also, that it's not very clear that a clear picture can be given that this is going to be the final payout by Air India. Now comes the issue of timelines, that how and when will the airline pay the compensation. Now, interim compensation may be announced by Air India very soon. Final compensation will take time. Delays may be due to documentation of legal liability, verification of coverage and interest, evaluation of SDR, linked compensation system, insurance company. For example, in this, the lead is expected to be AIG. It promises providing 50% of the agreed share within 7 days of confirmation. What does this mean? This means that the interim compensation may be announced soon by the airline, but the final payout will depend on proof of claim, nationality of passengers, insurance terms, and also in terms whether the issue goes to the courts. The airline will get the settlement for hull loss within a period of 6 months. So $80 million may come to Air India sooner than what the eventual compensation to the passengers and third-party liabilities are concerned. Now let's take a look at the aircraft insurance mechanism. That what happens as far as the aircraft insurance is concerned. Here the reinsurance structure for the crashed aircraft is such that Air India Boeing 787 was covered under almost $20 billion global aviation insurance policy. Global aviation insurance policy. April 1st, this policy was renewed with AIG. That's a company, insurance company, which is a lead reinsurer. Primary insurers include Tata AIG, that's the Indian company. It's the lead insurer with 40% share. ICICI Lombard, New India Assurance, that's a public sector unit, and there are other public sector insurers also. Reinsurers will pay 95% of the claims. Now isn't that interesting? That the primary insurers are not paying 5% odd, while the reinsurers are paying 95%. You must be wondering that what's really reinsurance? It's a common term in insurance policies where the cover is too large. So insurance companies share the burden and then insure their own risk. So reinsurance is insurance for the insurers. It helps distribute large risks like airline crashes among multiple companies, protecting the primary insurance from catastrophic losses because of an accident and payouts. Reinsurances for large fleets like Air India, for example, is typically placed through brokers in London and Bermuda. Key global reinsurers like AIG, Allianz, AXA, XL, Swiss Re, Munich Re, Lloyd's Syndicate. Indian reinsurers are like GIC, often has an obligatory participation, say almost 5%. Now, as far as Air India claim is concerned, if 80 million is there, mostly global reinsurances via facultative placements will make the payments. Passengers' liability of 30 to 40 million will be, as per the Montreal Convention, will be shared among reinsurers under liability section. Third parties losers will be under liability coverage again. Now the total expected payout as far as the aircraft is concerned, and the total one, 95% coming from reinsurers and 5% from Indian insurers. Now at the start of the show I had said that this crash, Air India crash, could well be the largest insurance payout as far as an air disaster is concerned involving an aviation company based in India. I would like to go back and compare it to the past ones. Let's take the case of Mangalore crash. IX-812, it happened in 2010. It was the Air India Express aircraft. $60 to $70 million was paid out. This was a payout combined with the Crore crash in 2020. Now in Crore, it was again Air India Express, IX-1344 was a registration number. In 2020, 21 people had died. It included both the earlier ones, Mangalore one, it happened because there was a wet runway. So this could well be the largest payout. At the end, a question. Is compensation adequate or enough in a tragedy like this? That's a very complex question. A financial compensation is merely a crucial component, yes, of victim support. It can help address material losses and provide some amount of fiscal relief. It's the last thing on the minds of the victims or their families.
The compensation is not going to bring him back.
I give the money, but give my dad. That's what I'm just saying anyway. But no one's going to give that.
Money's not going to replace the life. Even yesterday when we were trying to get our booking to come here, Air India was an option, and I said, I'm not going on Air India. We can't lose 5 of us have travelled to come here to say our farewell. We've left up both our children.
Both children are by themselves, they're home as well. But they said, Mum, Dad, you just carry on. Don't worry about it. Just bring the other bag.
In this case, for example, they will need administrative support and compassion. Say the mortal remains of their loved ones can be handed over more quickly. They were waiting for DNA samples to be taken. They will wait for the reports to come, the matching to happen. Then access to justice. The report on what happened and who was responsible, the aircraft, the company manufacturing it, or the airline operator, or it was simply a malfunction. That is an important fact because the eventual compensation they get will depend on this. Who was responsible? If there was a maintenance issue, if there was an airline issue, then they can claim more compensation. And that is why the report in the AI-171 crash is going to be critical. And I think all this will become an invisible, though minimal, balm on the wounds the tragedy has left behind. That's all from us today. Thank you for watching.